Troublesome times are here, filling men's hearts with fear. Freedom we all dear, now is that stay. Humble your hearts to God, safe from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon, many will meet.
Thanks for joining us. You're going to enjoy being with us today because we've got a special guest. And I believe, is this your first time to be here,
Yes,
Russ?
sir. Sure is.
This is Russ King. Russ, I am so glad to have you here. Why did it take so long to get you down here?
I don't know. I guess it's the first time you asked me.
Is it? I thought I'd invited you before.
You have. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come. You're going to enjoy Russ because Russ is a minister at the Donaldson Church of Christ. And for years, he served as minister at the Rural Hill congregation. And a family man, grew up here in Nashville and works and helps support inner city ministry. He's always been a big supporter of ours and just a good person. So, mamas, I tell you what, we're going to ask him some questions, let him get some advice to you because he's helped a lot of people in his life. And Russ, you have a brother-in-law that used to work for us.
Yes, sir. Ron Pittman. And
well, I tell you what,
love him. One of the best things I ever did was marrying his sister.
That's right. I understand that.
Now, he was part, since he's family, I kind of got stuck with that.
Yeah,
but he's a pretty good guy.
I tell you, I've worked with a lot of people, but Ron is one of the smartest people I ever worked with.
Well, he still is. Very good guy. Very faithful.
I tell people all the time, if I had to go to Washington to sit down and meet with some senators or somebody, I would want Ron Pittman to go with me.
Well, he could sell, ice cubes to an Eskimo, the old saying goes, or a refrigerator.
But his ability to comprehend a subject. He and I went to a thing that they wanted us to go to, and it was on how to work with difficult people. And it's to train us so that we could work with people who's having difficulties, is what I thought we'd gone for, and it's what he thought. We got there. We hadn't been there any time. Russ and Ron punched me, and he said, they think we're the difficult people.
He's a great guy, and I love him. He's just like a brother to me. I remember when inner city ministry was just a dream. I remember you came to Donaldson. I think you were over in, was it Woodbine or Radnor area?
Radnor Church,
and you came over to Donaldson to share that vision, and you had a little 15-passenger van, and you and some of the kids came over. How many years ago was that?
Man, that's 30 years ago.
Well, see, I remember that, and I remember from that very first time when you brought that vision.
It is. It's been a wonderful life.
Yes.
And we've made a tremendous impact in this city. And we couldn't have done it if it hadn't been people like you that supporting in your church and people really getting involved in trying to help people.
Well, when I was at the Catfish dinner a few weeks ago, and that was over 2 nights, and I just went one night, and I saw hundreds and hundreds of people, and it really is, first of all, glory to the Lord. It's the Lord's working, absolutely, and then hundreds of people, volunteers. And when you go down on Monday night or Tuesday night, and folks from all over town coming down to get on a bus, it's kind of like a family reunion.
It is. Yeah. It is. And you see people from, like you say, all over town, different backgrounds, and they come together for the one cause. And this happens in the city of Nashville. It happened, the mayor always talks about the generosity that was demonstrated through the flood.
Right.
And it's just the Russ King spirit. You've got that same spirit in your ministry.
Well, I appreciate
and in your
that.
heart, because I know of cases where you have gone way out of your way to reach out to a business person and encourage them to seek the Lord in their life because you believe really that God is the answer to people's problems in the world today.
Well, that's what drives you and has for years, and it's just a blessing to be a part of the kingdom, isn't it? It's just a blessing.
God's plan, Russ, is, as you well know, and I want to challenge you to think about this. God's plan, He knows what He's doing.
Oh, absolutely.
And when He gave us the family. Now, you were telling me you've got a foster daughter in somewhere?
Yeah, in Guatemala.
Tell us about that.
Well, I have 3 daughters by birth. My oldest one is married.
You have children that old. See, I didn't think you had children that old.
I've got a grandchild,
Oh, have you?
Yeah. My oldest
Grandkids
daughter,
are great, brother.
It's fantastic stuff, isn't it?
That's right.
My wife, every time she comes home from the store, this just jumped off the shelf into the cart. Okay.
Yeah,
but my oldest daughter's married, has a little 5-year-old girl. My middle daughter actually works for a congressman up in Washington. And my youngest daughter's a freshman at Lipscomb. And so we're just blessed. But about 20-something years ago, one Sunday night up at church in Bowling Green, Greenwood Park, Church of Christ. They were talking about some children coming to the States for medical attention, and they needed host homes. And I tell you, Lydell, I just felt a burning in my side. It was my wife elbowing me.
Yeah, I see.
She said, we need to go find out about that. And so,
now, how old were your biological children at that time?
Oh, well, at that time,
just get it ballpark.
yeah,
I won't make
10 and 5, and my youngest one hadn't even been born yet.
Okay.
And so Claudia Susana Vasquez Hernandez, we call her Susie.
Okay, I understand
came
that.
into our lives,
Yeah.
and she had spinal surgery, a couple of different spinal surgeries, but she's been in our life ever since then for 20 years, and she lives in Guatemala. Good Christian brothers and sisters helped us to pull together and actually buy a little concrete block place for her to live, so she and her mom don't have to volley around, because it's a very male-dominant culture.
Really?
And women are often mistreated, as they are here in our own country and even in our own city. There's a burden in my heart for just people that are mistreated, and you don't have to go even out of our city.
That's right.
To find people that are hurting and that are mistreated.
Satan shows no respect, does it?
That absolutely, he'll go for anybody.
I make the statement. A lot of people, and I make a statement, and it makes people cringe when I say it. But I think one of the things, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, that it doesn't mislead anybody, but I think a lot of people, and they see a bad situation, and they say, well, how could there be a God if this situation is that bad? I think people sometimes expect too much from God and underestimate the power of Satan.
I think absolutely we underestimate the power of Satan. I've told folks for years, I absolutely believe that God is living and active just as much as He ever has been. But I also believe that Satan is living and active. The Bible says that we must not be unaware of his schemes. And also talks about submit yourselves to God, resist the devil, and he'll flee from you. And far too often we are not aware enough of Satan's power and action in our lives. Take a football analogy. I can assure you that when the Titans, before the Titans start up this fall, they'll watch game footage of their opponent.
That's right.
And that's not to give the opponent more strength. It's so that you can be aware. I think we need to keep an eye on that. But years ago, I heard a good brother in Christ say, hell is a fact, but heaven is the emphasis. So I think that even though we need to acknowledge Satan, we got to keep our eye mostly on the Lord, because that's what's going to be. When I was delivering papers, I delivered the Nashville Banner. Do you remember the Banner?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I delivered the Nashville Banner.
You grew up here in town,
Yeah,
didn't you?
I grew up out in Donaldson, which is really cool because now I'm back at the church where I grew up. But
I won't talk about that.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I was delivering newspapers on my bicycle. And a pack of dogs came, and I was watching the big one, and the little one jumped up and got me. See,
Well, that's what happens to us in life,
That's
though,
exactly right.
because we don't watch enough film, and we don't educate ourselves to what is of Satan and what is of God.
That's right, and I think each person needs to be aware of when am I most vulnerable to temptation? Well, for most folks, it's when we're alone. For many people, it's at night. It can be when we're feeling down about something. I look at the life of Jesus. You remember after He fed the thousands, He went up on the mountainside to pray, because you can also be attacked when you're at the top of your game and you're having victory and success. Satan can whisper in your, look at all you're doing, look at how great you are. I mean, like you said, He's no respecter of persons.
Russ, we have and you're not a stranger to our ministry, and as I said earlier, into the struggles that our people go through. When it's a mother that's out here raising 4, 5, 6 children by herself, and the daddies of those children are not in her life, it's real easy for the middle-class community to say, well, they've got different daddies, and they start putting that girl down.
Right.
Okay, the girl has made some decision. It wasn't what God wanted her to do, but she's got 5 or 6 precious children here. It's easy for her to become discouraged. and,
I think
that
discouragement.
Satan can just beat her up right now.
Well, isn't that the case for all of us?
I think so.
You know, I'll tell you, Lytle, that one of the greatest ways that Satan attacks me is through discouragement. So you can be discouraged at any stage of life, but I think you're exactly right. Discouragement, hopelessness, that type of thing. Now, I grew up with a father in the home, but it was my mom that took me and my brothers to worship every Sunday. You didn't know this,
No.
but year in and year out, my mom took us to church on Sundays. We went to Sunday school and to worship. My dad, a good man, he was involved in our lives. He didn't resist that, but he just left that to Mom to do. So I really have a place in my heart for spiritually single moms or single moms. But you know what? My mom faithfully took us to Bible study and to worship.
She didn't give up, did she?
No, she didn't give up. Now, we didn't go on Sunday night, so I got to watch World of Disney, and that worked out pretty good. You can tell folks that were raised going to church back then, they never got to see the Wonderful World of Disney.
I know.
So I got to see Wonderful World of Disney.
They could have made an atheist out of me, taking me all this time.
I know. I can see that. But my mama took my brothers and me every week. And now
and that was the Donaldson Church of Christ, where you're now the minister.
Yes, it's really amazing how that works. And both of my brothers are faithful servants of the Lord. My middle brother Gary and his wife and daughter worship at Harpeth Hills. My youngest brother Tony and his wife Connie and their kids worship at North Boulevard in Murfreesboro. And that traces back to my mom. Now I want to tell you about my mom, because she grew up right over here in East Nashville, not far from East High School. And when she was a teenager, a friend named Nancy invited my mama to go to church with her. Well, my mom was one of 6 or 7 kids, and well, they didn't go to church all the time. We'll just put it that way. And Nancy invited my mama to worship, and my mom went, and then she went again. And then she gave her life to the Lord, and then she married, and now here we are, decades later, and my dad's long since been gone. My mom's still here and loving the Lord and faithful Lord, and raised 3 boys. So my heart, I'm just so appreciative for mamas, and these moms might think, well, you know, I'm fighting a losing battle. I would plead to them and say, no, you are not fighting a losing battle.
Now listen, don't let Satan overpower you and think you are fighting. Listen to what he's saying now. This man knows.
That's exactly right. Well, I was a youth minister for 14 years, and I also taught.
That was good work, wasn't it?
I enjoyed that. And then I taught high school at Easy Arden Christian School for about 13 years. So I've dealt a lot with young people. And one of the lies of Satan is that he'll whisper in the ear of parents is, well, you're powerless. Mm-hmm. You're powerless against peer pressure. Your son, your daughter, you don't have that. That's straight from Satan, because the most significant impact on a person's life are the parents.
That's right.
And
that's God's plan.
That's absolutely God's plan. Now, we know and acknowledge that the plan is best when mom and dad are both there. But you know what? It doesn't always work out that way. So does that mean the mama throws up her hands and goes, oh, well, I just can't do this? No, now she's got her work cut out for her. But Satan would have her want to just throw it all in and say, I can't do anything. That's absolutely not the case.
I think that you are making such a good point, and I hope, mamas, that you're listening. I hope sometimes I tell my kids that I've raised, and they're raising kids, and ones that single parents, don't give up. Don't give up. Don't let the inmates run the prison. You're in charge of the home. Be in charge of the home and train your children to love the Lord with all their heart, mind, and soul, and to love each other.
That's exactly right.
And that's something it ain't going to happen by accident. You got to train them to do that.
Well, I was raised old school. By that, here's what I mean. I got spanked a little bit. Now, there's a difference between spanking and abuse.
Oh yeah, we're not talking about abuse.
I would renounce, and I'd go to the line on that.
Yeah.
But when I messed up, I knew about it. Now I got a little bit older. The punishment altered a little bit. Some privileges were withheld or something like that.
Which was more painful than
the spanking. And the thing is, whenever I did wrong, and now I was disciplined. And discipline doesn't always mean physical punishment by any means. When I was disciplined, I knew I was loved. I knew I'd done wrong, and I knew, hey, okay, I can't go to this event because of my actions, you know.
I blame everybody else, but I know down deep it's my action.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
And kids will always test the line. Now, I know this not only as a parent, but as a youth minister, that kids will test the line. If you draw the line right there,
The kid's gonna push it.
yeah. You draw the line right there, especially with boys, they're going to go right up to it, and they're going to lay their toe right over.
That's right.
And
That's right.
they're going to say, do you mean what you say or not?
Let me give you a good example. I grew up, mom and daddy in the home.
Yeah.
Daddy died when I was young, but he was still there at this point. On the way to church one Sunday morning, because I hated church.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just blessed to have some of the boringest preaching in the country to grow up in, you know. And so,
I didn't have that problem. I was blessed with good preaching.
Oh, yeah. But man, I hated it. And so I'd fidget. And we didn't know at the time, and we just thought I was retarded. I'm ADD. And so we've now found out that I am ADD.
ADD, attention deficit. Hey, look at that over there.
That's right. And so I just couldn't sit still. I did what I call the heebie-jeebie. Had to move.
Yeah.
Well, I heard my mother talking to my daddy that morning. You're talking about boys pressing the line. My mother said, I can't enjoy service. I can't get anything out of it because Lila just drives me nuts. And my daddy said, well, let him sit with me. That won't be I'll take care of it. It won't be a problem. And I remember, Russ, now mothers, y'all listen to this. I remember plainly, well, we'll see how far he gets with that. I remember thinking that.
Yeah.
I know exactly where I was in that little house we was in. And I thought, I'll show him a few things.
Yeah.
And I am a child who is about 5 years old. And I was going to, so we get to church and Brother Longwind starts in and all this stuff. And man, I started up. And so he corrected me once there, and so I was pushing it. I was feeling my oats.
Yeah.
He didn't say a word. He got up and took me by the hand, led me out of that little old church building, off out into the front yard, down by a fence row, and wore me out. On the way back, boy, I was burning. On the way back to the building, he got to the front door and got thinking about it and got mad all over again and made a U-turn. Went back to that fence row, and he fired me up again.
Oh, my goodness.
So when I got back in church, that preacher was preaching the truth.
I bet he was.
I did not have a problem. I sat there and listened to Brother Longwind all the way through. Now, I was kind of warm on the bottom side, but I listened. My attention deficit just went away real quick.
Well, you know, boys, kids in general, but especially boys, they'll test that line. But I'll tell you what, Lytle, I've seen young men and young women on both sides of that, and what they'll say is, you know, really, I might have griped about having the rules put down, but I really appreciated it because I knew where the boundaries were.
After they
Here's
get older,
the thing,
they'll tell you
guardrails, I explained to teenagers, guardrails are not to inhibit your freedom. They're to protect you.
Yeah, that's right.
They're to keep you alive. They're to keep you alive.
And I tell the inner city children, and parents will let you need your parents to know that they love you. And I tell my parents, tell your children no. Don't argue with them. Tell them no. And then enforce that no. So that don't get into all this drama and all this fussing and all this TV talk. Just say, no, we don't do that in our family. And then just stick to that guns, and then they'll feel secure because they'll know somebody cares.
There's a security, and there's a love. It's like I told you a minute ago. Whenever I received discipline, which was sometimes included punishment, discipline is broader than punishment. You know, discipline, disciple, to learn.
Okay.
You know, so to be disciplined is to be taught, to learn. So it's more than just I'm going to spank. But I knew whenever I received discipline, I was loved. There was no doubt about it. Now, I didn't necessarily like it. The Bible talks about that too. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful, Hebrews says. But later on produces a harvest of righteousness. Well, you know all that. You know the Bible better than I do.
But, I mean, the point is, though, that we as parents, and we was talking about when we got off into this, which has been great, is we get discouraged. And we start believing the devil's lie that this child is not going to accomplish anything. I I've asked a lot of people, why is it that, and I think it's 78% of the people that's incarcerated, why are their children incarcerated?
Mm-hmm.
I've asked that question over and over and over. And I never have gotten a satisfactory answer that satisfied me. I was interviewing on this program Linda Polk, who is my secretary. She's done a lot of research into prisons and has worked in prisons and has done a lot of teaching in prisons and so forth and working. And she said the answer to that is because what happens, parents make the mistake, mamas make a mistake a lot of time. Daddy's incarcerated. And the parents will say, mama will say to that little boy, you're going to be just like your daddy.
Oh, man.
And, you know, I think she's probably hit something. I think she's probably answered something.
I think
the child trusts what the parent says. The child doesn't know, mama doesn't have a clue. And so the child is trusting what mama says. And when mama says you're going to be like daddy and daddy's incarcerated, the child starts building that platform. I'll be incarcerated.
Well, the Bible says as a man thinks in his heart,
as
a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So whatever standard we set for our children, they usually do. They'll rise up to that standard, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. If the bar's way down here, guess what? If the bar is up here, they're going to do that. Now, three different kids, three different personalities. To one, studying comes real easy. To one, another one might not. So we're not perfect parents. Nobody's a perfect parent. But we try not to say, you need to be like your sister.
Right.
Well, sister might make straight A's. And this one say, well, I'm not them. I can't make straight A's. So we're not comparing you to them. You do what you need to do.
You're an individual.
That's exactly right.
Bloom where you are.
And so I believe very much in speaking blessing and speaking encouragement to our children.
Now, I'm proud you said that.
To go to them and say, you know what? I believe in you. I'm proud of you. Every person needs to hear those words.
Now, parents, though, many of my parents, as you're well aware of, they spend more time criticizing their children rather than encouraging their children.
Right.
Cussing their kids, calling them names. That has got to go.
Well, stop and think about the words of Jesus. Treat other people like you want to be treated.
Right.
King James, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. All right, now, do you want somebody cussing you?
No.
Do you want somebody putting you down?
No.
You want somebody telling you you're not ever going to amount to anything?
No.
No, you don't.
No.
Now, when you do wrong and you receive punishment, you still get that hug and go, now I love you. And because I love you, I'm not going to let you get away with that foolishness.
Right.
But I believe in you and you're going to do great things. I'm a living example of that, Lytle.
Sure
I'm a living example. I'll tell you one instance that comes to mind, and it happened from an elder at the church. When I was 15 years old, on fifth Sunday night, they would have the young men do the service. So I stood up and I'd practice and practice and practiced. Well, my sermon was supposed to go about 10 minutes. It went 3 minutes.
I understand.
You know, now it goes too long. But back then, it went 3 minutes. Well, all during that song, I thought, oh, Lord, if you just let me live through this, I promise I won't ever do it again.
I know.
Well, afterwards, one of the elders from the church came up, kind man. He told me the sweetest lie I'd ever heard. He said, Russ, you did a great job. I'd like to encourage you to think about preaching the gospel.
But he wasn't lying.
But I thought
he saw what could be.
But I thought, you are crazy. You are crazy. I shook his hand. I said, thank you. I've never forgotten it.
You never forgot it.
Now here I am, 32 years into ministry.
Now, what would have happened if he'd have come up and said, son, you don't ever need to do this. You need to be a mechanic.
Well,
you might not be.
I might not have even made a good mechanic.
That's right. That's right.
But he planted a seed at a young age that had been, or maybe watered. He watered a seed that had been planted by my parents. And my mama taking me and my brothers to worship.
Your mama taught you it was important because she stopped her schedule, took you to church.
That's exactly right.
She didn't send you to church. She took you to church.
That's exactly right,
now,
too.
That's what I want my mamas to do is when those buses pull in that community on Sunday morning, I want you to get out and get on that bus with them young ones and bring them young ones to church.
Now, you know, mamas have a tough row to hoe, and they're tired, and they think, whew, I sure could use this hour and a half just to myself to have a breath. But I tell you what, Lytle, when those kids see their mama, it brings them pride.
Absolutely.
And they're going to get more out of being there too, because they're not going. Mama ain't going to let them get by with some of that stuff.
And Mama needs that encouragement.
And she needs that encouragement. You know what? My mom's a widow now, has been for about 14 years. And she goes to worship, and of course, she loves the Lord and all that. But one real benefit is, she says, I get some hugs on Sunday.
That's right. That's right.
And you know what? We're both grown men. We still need that.
You do.
We still need that pat on the back, that physical touch, and hey, how are you doing, and all that.
And parents, you need to be hugging your kids and encouraging them.
Oh, absolutely. And I tell the kids, you need to hug your mamas and your daddies too.
That's right.
See,
honor your father and mother.
Exactly.
Right.
In Malachi, it talks about that the great day of the Lord will come. He will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers.
And if you don't, though, those grands going to be cursed.
That's
right.
Right
now, Russ, we see a lot of cursed situations because daddies don't know where their kids are. We got 2 minutes to go.
What? You are kidding me.
And you've been a great guest. I want you to come back.
Thank you.
I want you to, you said something when we sat down here a while ago, and I asked you the question. We ain't got 2 minutes. But you said something that just really touched my heart. It's beautiful. Why did you leave Rural Hill, which is a great church?
Great church, great people.
Church.
Yes, absolutely.
A model of a church.
Yes, very much.
Multi-diverse culture. It was beautiful. I've been out there. I love it. And went back to your home church, Donaldson. And I said, why did you do that? Why do we always go back home? And you said,
well, here's the blessing that I have that not everyone does. And that is, I get to hold the hand of folks at the end of their life that held my hand on the front end of mine.
Now that's powerful. Now you see that, Mama? That is so powerful.
I get to hold the hand at the end of life of those men and women that taught me about the Lord when I was a little ADD kid in kindergarten.
Little troublemaker.
I think you and me might have been cut from the same bolt of cloth.
Hey, it was fun though, man.
Yeah.
But that, I think, is so important that you're able to, you don't forget people.
That's right.
And by you going back there and doing, it's a blessing to Donaldson.
And a blessing to me.
And it's a blessing to you.
Yeah.
But it's good for you to have that kind of spirit that want to be there and minister to the people that minister to you. Our time is up. We've only got 30 seconds to go. Can you make a 15-second encouragement to a mother out there that's got a house full of kids that's struggling?
Hold on to the Lord. Hold on to the Lord. Your
it.
labor in the Lord is not in vain.
Raise them young ones to love the Lord and bring them on to church, and we'll help you chase those little rascals, and they'll turn out and be the kind of people that you want them to be and God wants them to be, and take pride in your children. They are a blessing from God. It's the best gift you'll ever get. Russ King, thanks for coming.
Thank you, my
God
brother.
Bless. Thanks for tuning in. God bless you.
Troublesome times are here, filling men's hearts with fear. Freedom we all hold dear, now is that day. Humble your heart to God, save from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound, and all of the dead shall rise. Righteous me in the skies. I'm going where no one dies, heavenward bound. Well, troubles will soon be your happy forevermore. When we meet on that shore, free from all care. Rising up in the skies, telling this world goodbye. Home